Hello, welcome to the Gun Shop with me, John. Today we're going to be looking at this, the BSA, SKB, Ithaca, call it what you will, the model 200E. In this case, this is a standard straight up Skb 200E. So, starting at the back, the early ones I don't believe are fitted with these, but the majority are fitted with a 1-inch ventilated butt pad. The wood is lacquered and pretty unexciting, to be fair. Although I don't think it's a true lacquer, it's more of a true lacquer, because in some cases it has worn off. That said, these guns are 60 years old, so it's fair that they are starting to wear a little bit. The checkering is hand checkered. It's quite coarse, I think it's a 16 line per inch, but it's flat top. It's not too bad, doesn't feel bad on the hand, while still providing some quality grip. It meets at the bottom, and it's a fairly well done job. The trigger guard and the whole action is blacked, apart from the trigger. It's rounded, and I think this is where certainly some of the cheaper end quality is starting to play, as you get these little rounded parts here, and although the inletting is absolutely superb and the wood to metal fit is very nice, it's worth mentioning that this whole bottom part is very flat, and you can feel that when you grip it. The whole bottom is extremely flat and quite wide, and it isn't quite radiused as it should be, but you know, it is what it is. The safety is non-selectable, it's just on and off, and is automatic on every model I've seen. I'm sure it's removable, however, if you want. The trigger is selectable, and you have this little button here that I think gives the impression of some of the cheaper gun safeties that are out there, but is actually a selector of which barrel you want to shoot first, and that is pretty reminiscent throughout the entire SKB range. The action is raised engraving, rolled raised engraving, and I'm a huge fan of this actually. I think it's really nice. It's just a bit different. It's not something you see every day, it's not vulgar, it's well done. It is well done. I think the black action does help that, certainly. The action inside is just a standard box lock. It's fairly much a copy of a Webley 700 in terms of width and size and the parts, and I also believe someone once told me that you can take the trigger group out of this and drop it into a 700 with only minor fettling. Moving on, the forend is push button style. You have a nice inlet black forend iron and forend tip, and that's actually really nice. I must admit the finishing on that is fairly superb, and everything else here is a fairly standard forend. It's quite short, it's quite wide, and again is very flat, and there's a lot of things on this gun that are quite flat and wide, but that works, it does work. The barrels are 2 3/4 inch, chrome lined, and feature a double bead sight over a flat filed, or a flat and checkered rib. And this is 8mm parallel, but it's quite reasonable. It's 28 inch, and unusually for the time actually, it is monoblock, and you've got this sort of little bit of engraving around the joint there. It's well done, and although you know it doesn't look like it's done, you can tell. Around the bottom you only have 2 points of contact on the sides of the actions here. That's a little bit different, but it works, and it has worked for a while, so there's nothing wrong. The bottom of the lump here, your front lump, actually drops through the gun and comes through the hole here. So when you joint them together, it closes up the hole. The forend goes on thus. The barrels are choked at 1/4 1/2, which is fairly reasonable, nothing really to write home about there, and works very well. And the whole gun overall weighs in at 6 pounds and 13 ounces. So although it's a little bit of weight there, it is not excessive. Something to mention about the SKB range, the 200E is no exception, is with this wonderful scalloping around the headwork here, it is prone to splitting down these 3 lines. However, they're not entirely structural because of the way it's built. It's always worth checking that it's not got any huge cracks through it, though I say little ones are very, very common. Very, very common, nothing to worry about, but as I say, worth checking. So these guns were £60 back in the 1960s, so they're not an excessively expensive gun, or weren't an expensive gun. They were imported to the UK by BSA, because BSA stopped making double-barreled shotguns after World War II, so there was a bit of a shortage, I suppose, and they wanted to make money without building guns, and it was a fairly commonplace thing. The Skb factory has built guns for all manner of people over time, so they know what they're doing. I must say, balance and fit and handling is by the by, but the actual handling of it and the way it is spec'd is very reasonable. I personally will probably do away with the double bead sight. It's a little bit large for a 28-inch barrel perhaps, and it does cover height-wise the front bead. Or if anything, just take it off so you're just left with the bottom half of the nipple. However, pointing and handling, it shoots just like a British and English side by side, but it's got a single trigger. Worth mentioning that nowadays these things can be had for as little as about £150 or all the way up to about £500. So you can spend a lot or a little, depending on the quality. I think this one is up about the 200 mark. Spares. Spares are a little bit of a hard one to find, or can be certainly. Some parts are fairly interchangeable, however things like cock and dog springs have to be made. There is no choice. And suddenly a £200 gun can harbour a £150 bill to get it back in working condition. So just be careful when you buy one. Make sure it's working to start with, and you know, it's going to work for a little while before you invest. I like the trigger selector there, that works really well, and I must actually admit these are one of my favourite budget guns on the market by a long, long way. The quality is immense and they just command no money. Like most of the things from the Skb range, you'll never go wrong buying one, unless it breaks. Then you'll be a little bit stuck. But thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions on this, please stick them below. Apart from that, take care, many thanks for watching, and goodbye.